This is the voice of the New York Football Giants, Bob Papa, and you are listening to the best throughout Europe, the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast.
Welcome back, Giants fans, to the latest edition of the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast. As always, we are proudly in association with the Annie's Merg Club. Lads, remember, it is okay to talk, and tonight we are 100% British. And as always, we are still 100% Giants, just the two of us. We can make it if we try. I'm not going to sing anymore. Just the two of us. We're back to look ahead or not look ahead, whichever way you look at it. To this Sunday's game against the Minnesota Vikings in our penultimate home game of the season. And I don't know about you, Craig, but I'm not expecting any sort of early Christmas present this weekend. How you doing?
Yeah, not bad. I am expecting an early Christmas present. I just think that the Vikings will be receiving those Christmas presents and not the Giants this coming weekend. It depends on what side of the fence you're on as well. You know, if you are on the tank train, then chances are they could still be giving you a gift by the end of the weekend.
The Giants are the gift that keeps on giving.
Aren't they just?
Yeah, it could. Yeah, we could be in a much better position in terms of draft spot come this time on Sunday. We'll go through the tankathon standings later on as we started that off last week. It's a good question, Keith. Where is Shane? He is, is he the new Giants kicker? We'll find out on Sunday. Keep your eyes on the game on Sunday. You'll find out. No, he's not. He's recovering from a poorly tooth, is our Shane. So I hope you feel better soon, mate. Back with you. Second time in 2-3 days. Looking ahead to the game this weekend. Thanks very much, Keith. Ho, 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 indeed. Looking forward to looking ahead to the game this Sunday. Don't know if I'm looking forward to it or not. It's the Vikings. Have had an up and down season, so stranger things have happened. But at the end of the day, we're on an 8-game losing streak. So, like I said, I don't really expect any form of win as a Christmas present this weekend, put it that way. If you're watching live on YouTube, X, Facebook, get involved in the comments as you usually do. Send your questions in, game predictions as well, because why not? We're going to be calling the end of the game at the end of the show. So how many points are the Vikings going to win by? Let us know in the comments. And as Aaron said on Wednesday's show, don't forget to like the episode if you think Joe Schoen should be fired. Give it a big thumbs up if you think Joe Schoen should be fired. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done already. And for audio listeners, feel free to leave us a review on your podcast platform of choice. How many stars do they need to give us, Craig? 5 gold stars.
What did I do? I can't remember what language I did it in last time. Was it? It was Fünf.
Was it German?
It was Fünf. So we go for it's sank, isn't it? I'm pretty sure in French it's sank. Yeah. So yeah, correct. That might be as far as my foreign language fives go, but there we go.
Your pre-GCSE French?
Yeah, well, GCSE French, yeah.
I think that's probably as far as I can remember in French as well. So good job, well done. Yeah, sank 5 stars would be fantastic. Thank you very much. Let's get this show on the road. As usual, we are starting off with the latest news. Craig, over to you, my friend.
Yeah, there's not a lot. But the Giants have sort of continued their practice squad juggling by adding Tanner Connor, who that's the whitest name I've heard in a while, who is a tight end. He was cut earlier this week by the Dolphins. Now, Connor is the third tight end on the Giants practice squad, along with Zach Davidson and the actually just brilliantly named and our international exemption player Maximilian Mang. In total, that brings the Giants' tight end count to 7 in the building at the moment, because you've got Bellinger, Manhurts, and Theo Johnson, who are all on the active roster. You've got 2025 draft pick Thomas Fidone, who is on IR, and now you've got Connor, Davidson, and Mang, who are now on the practice squad. And it's interesting because you look at the practice squad at this time of the season. And most of the time, what you're doing is you're kind of stockpiling projection players that you could potentially sign to restrictive deals, or keep them around as a camp body. So it just feels like too many tight ends on the roster. I'm sure there's a reason. I did kind of hope that we'd kind of tied all that together with Fedone. Manhurts is unlikely to be here next year. I'd imagine he will probably retire in the off-season. He is getting on. He still is good, but I think Bellinger's starting to get up to scratch on his blocking ability.
Yeah.
Connor has played in 33 games, though, since joining the Dolphins in 2022 as an undrafted free agent out of Idaho State Bengals. So another one to add to the list.
Idaho State Bengals, nice.
He was actually having a career year for the Dolphins earlier this year. Now, obviously, this is a career year for him. It's 9 receptions for 91 yards, but he's actually still appearing in games, which is something. Previously he had only had 3 receptions for 16 yards, which all came in 2024, 22 and 23. He didn't suit up on offense at all.
I mean, 9 for 91 is more than Manhurts has this year, right?
Probably. So, it'll be interesting. I haven't looked a lot into what his style of play is. Is he a pass catching tight end? Is he a blocking tight end? Is he a hybrid of the two? But the Giants are still making those roster moves, trying to pick up players to try and to see what they've got next season. When you look at the practice squad, there isn't really anyone that jumps out other than maybe Smith, Marset, and a couple of the sort of mainstays that always seem to be there for the Giants. But we'll wait and see. As Keith said, can any of these tight ends kick? Because Keith is right. At this current point in time, we do not have a kicker on the main roster. Ben Sauls is likely to be an elevation, but obviously by elevating Ben Sauls to take up a position that is one of one, essentially, you're restricting yourself from calling up other players to fill other gaps. So I'm not sure.
So just on Tanner Connor, I've just googled him. Just have a look. He is a former wide receiver, so that says to me he's a pass catching tight end.
Yeah, okay. You could probably hang your hat on that one quite handily. Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Injury report has come out for the weekend. We will be without Bo Collins, who has a neck injury. Nunez Roches has an ankle injury. Thibodeau still has that shoulder injury. And as we were saying earlier on this week, we wouldn't be surprised if he gets shut down for the season soon. And Evan Neal, who returned to the squad after his IR, is also out with a hamstring injury and a neck. Oh, sorry, not the hamstring. The hamstring is what kept him out on IR. He's now out with a neck injury because he picked up a strain during the week. He wasn't going to see game action anyway, but
what the actual fuck? Did he pick up that neck strain, looking bending over too far over the grill, trying to flip all those burgers?
Who knows?
I love that. Well, let's elevate Evan Neal. And oh wait, he's on the injury. Oh, he's out of the game. What's the point? What's the point?
As Keith said, Evan Neal is made of breadsticks. Flanagan Fowles is questionable with an illness. Joshua Azudu is questionable with a calf injury. And Rico Payton is questionable with a back injury. Rico Payton being the Saints or ex-Saints cornerback that we picked up earlier on this season and put him straight on IR because he came in with an injury designation. So Dexter Lawrence had been on the injury report, but it was just rest. He has no designation for the game. Tyler Newbin was dealing with a personal issue. He doesn't have a designation for the game either. And then Drew Phillips had a heel injury, and Gunnar Olszewski obviously was still in concussion protocol. He has now cleared that, so they've got no designation. So, we'll
have a punt returner this weekend.
Yeah, potentially.
No more Javon Holland back there. That's what I like to see.
Hopefully, yeah. No one wants to see that.
No, we do not. I mean, I'm really not surprised at this point in this point in the season that. I mean, I'm surprised the injury report isn't longer, but it's long enough. I think I looked at the Vikings injury report earlier. I think there's 4 players on there. As per usual, we've got about a dozen on ours. It's
Yep.
kind of a running trend over the last few years. We just don't seem to be able to keep our players fit and healthy. So maybe maybe we should need a full, complete, like, blow it up and just start afresh, including the doctors, the physicians, just all the physical staff. Just blow it all up and start again, because what's the worst that can happen at this point?
Indeed.
Our injury report might be shorter next season. Who knows? Talking of the Vikings, let's get on to the game. Look at the Vikings so far this season. Compared to this time a year ago, the Vikings were 12-2 and were well on their way to claiming the 5th seed in the NFC playoffs. Fast forward a year, they find themselves 6-8 and eliminated from playoff contention. The one big difference, that's their quarterback. The Vikings decided to let Sam Darnold walk in free agency and go to Seattle and $150 million contract. And 13 wins later, they're currently the number 1 seed in the NFC. And JJ McCarthy, the former 10th overall pick in 2024, has been their starting quarterback this year. And he has struggled with injuries and inconsistency. Their offense struggles to put points on the board sometimes. They've had injuries to both JJ McCarthy and Carson Wentz as well. I can't even remember the name of their third-string quarterback. He has played in 5 games as well this season. He's played in 5 games, appeared in 5 games, not necessarily started. So they've had a bit of a merry-go-round with injuries, as have we. Aaron Jones, their sort of lead, he was their sort of lead running back last year. He's kind of been a virtual non-factor this year, really. Jordan Mason's been the lead back this year. And Justin Jefferson, although he's been inconsistent, how should I say, although he's been consistent, he's only actually found the end zone twice this season, which for a receiver of Justin Jefferson's quality and caliber is absolutely criminal. And his career low was 5 touchdown grabs in 2023 when he tore his ACL and only appeared in 10 games. He's appeared in all the games this season and has caught 2 touchdown passes, both of which are actually on the road. He hasn't scored a touchdown at home this season, which is insane. It's just been a thoroughly underwhelming season for him and for the Vikings as well. They have won 2 straight, though, against both Washington and Dallas, outscoring them both 65-26, including the shutout of the Commanders 2 weeks ago. So can they make it 3 in a row against the NFC East teams this weekend? Bet your bottom dollar on it. With the Vikings sort of out of playoff contention, do you expect them to be resting anyone like Jefferson or Jordan Addison and look to sort of develop their squad, or do you see them going all out for the win, Craig?
I think with the struggles that they've had with JJ McCarthy and his inconsistency, I think he needs to start building a bit of a rapport with all of his receivers, and that includes Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson. So I wouldn't be resting them if it was me, and that's not just saying that I want them to do well. I just feel like if you've got a quarterback who is struggling for consistency, the worst thing you can then do is take away weapons from him. They don't need to tank in any real sort of way. They have a quarterback. Whether they're sold on him or not is another question, but they do have a quarterback of the future. And when he has played well, he's looked really good. They like you said, they've got Aaron Jones. He hasn't done well this season, but they do have Jordan Mason, who they bought in for that exact reason, which was to have a competent backup. And Mason proved that when he was in San Fran. So, they do have that. We mentioned Jefferson, we mentioned Addison. They also have Naylor, and they've also got Hockenson there. Mm-hmm. They have an offensive room there to be able to build something. So I wouldn't. I think the Vikings' biggest problem this season has potentially been maybe on their defense. I don't think their defense has really played up to their strengths, despite the fact that obviously they've picked up in the last couple of weeks. I just feel like it's been one of those seasons where, it's O'Connell, isn't it? Their head coach, Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah,
I think he's a fantastic head coach. I really do. And the things he was able to do with Darnold, he had Daniel Jones went there for the sole reason that he wanted to learn under O'Connell to try and revitalize his career. And obviously it must have worked to a degree because of the fact that he obviously went to the Colts and picked up from there, and he was having a fantastic season. He was starting to drop off towards the end before his Achilles injury, but that was something that he wanted to do. He wanted to go into Minnesota. Minnesota had the opportunity to keep him. Obviously, they decided to run with McCarthy, which makes perfect sense. When you draft a quarterback like that, you are going to do that. I would expect them to bounce back. I don't think he's on the hot seat in any way, shape, or form.
No.
I think he will stick around. I know a lot of people were saying that they were trying to hope to create a false narrative around it for him to potentially come here, because I think he would turn Dart into an absolute monster, because he is one of those quarterback whisperers that do not become available very often. So yeah, it's been an off season for them. And that can happen, it can happen to any team. You just look at the Commanders from year to year.
Exactly that. And I think it's that sort of transition year for them, isn't it? Go from having a vet like Sam Darnold, who led them to the playoffs and was fantastic last year. He's got on and got been paid by Seattle. They would never have paid him that contract that he got in Seattle in Minnesota. They would have never paid him that when they had the 10th overall pick sitting there ready and waiting. So maybe McCarthy is thrusting into it a little bit early, but obviously his development has not been too bad. It's just a shame he's been not been there on the field all season. He's had a few injuries, and realistically, I think moving forward, I rate him. I think he could be a really good quarterback in this league. And like I said, it's just that sort of transition year. You look at the Vikings offense, and they've just got weapons left, right, and centre. Their offensive line is good as well. And their defense have struggled a little bit, but at the same time, they've come up against because they won the NFC North last season. They've come up against other teams that have won divisions as well, and that have remained strong. So maybe looking at their schedule, they've dropped some games that maybe should have or could have won, but obviously with their issues with injuries and quarterbacks and having to bring players like Carson Wentz into the game, that's maybe why they've struggled as well. So I wouldn't necessarily look into it too much this year for them. I think it's just the NFC North has been strong as well. The Bears have been strong, the Packers have been strong,
the Lions are
obviously the Lions are the Lions as well. So exactly, it was always going to be tough for them this year, and I think realistically they've done okay. And they've had a sort of fairly credible season. They could still finish the season with a winning record. Obviously, if they win the final 3 games, first one which is coming up this Sunday against a team that's 2-12 and has absolutely nothing to play for. So, it could end quite nicely for them. But I think look to develop JJ the last 3 games and then move into the off season and bring in some help for him and bring in some help on the defense as well to sort of make this team more well-rounded and back to sort of what we saw last year.
Yeah, I think a lot of people forget that JJ McCarthy was coming off of that ACL tear last year. I know it happened. I know it happened in the preseason last year, but he was still coming back from that. Obviously, he played a couple of games. I remember watching his debut in Florida. I was in a bar in Florida watching his debut one evening, and he looked fantastic. And then obviously he picked up that injury. Wentz came in. Max Brosmer is the other quarterback who played a few games. Who was a rookie? He was thrust into it. So the Vikings record is no surprise when you're having to switch your quarterbacks that much. Carson Wentz played with an ACJ injury in his shoulder for the last 3 games, I think it was as well. So they have been quite beat up this year, but I don't think we can underestimate them with this one.
Not at all. I completely agree with that.
It's a good
looking back then,
for them.
So, yeah, exactly. If anything, it's a great training session for them. You have to go back to week 7 of 2013 for not just our last regular season win against the Vikings, but our last home win against them too, where we won 23-7. So a bit of history question time then, Craig. Who scored our 2 touchdowns in that game? One is a wide receiver and one is a running back. I'll give you them as a clue.
So 2013 would have been just before I started following them. So this should
a lot of this is guesswork for you. If anyone in the comments knows or wants to have a guess, feel free, throw it in the comments. We'll bring it up.
I
Yeah,
need
2
the-
touchdowns in the game.
I need the
One
two
running
Keiths
back, one
help
wide
on
receiver.
this. Is the receiver Cruz? He's always my go-to.
He's always your go-to, but he wasn't the receiver. He was the leading receiver in that game, though. 5 catches for 50 yards, but didn't have a touchdown.
Is it too early for Rashard Jennings?
Yes.
By about a year, isn't it? About a year or two. Oh, God. We might be shit out of luck here then.
Mario Manningham's a good guess. It wasn't Mario Manningham. I think he'd gone by then. I think because this is the year after 2 seasons after Super Bowl win. So I think Manningham had gone by then.
Was Randall there?
Bosh, Ruben Randall. There we go.
Ruben Randall,
3 catches, 40 yards and a touchdown.
I liked Ruben Randall.
He was, you know what? He was a decent receiver. Eli Manning liked him, so there we go. Running back's a bit of a weird one. He was only with us for 1 season.
Oh, so I'm definitely not going to get this then. Go on.
He was on the cover of Madden.
Wilson? Was it Wilson? No. Oh God, what's his name? I can see the cover. Literally, you can see the cover. Go on.
Peyton Hillis.
Yes, Peyton Hillis. Yep. Yeah.
He was on the cover of Madden as a Cleveland Brown. 18 carries for 36 yards and a touchdown. 2 yards a carry. Whee. Peyton Hillis. Well done, Keith. All right, then. Who had the Giants' only sack of the game?
OC?
Not OC.
Tuck? Is this post Tuck? It is Tuck, yeah.
Ding, 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 ding. Justin Tuck had the only sack of the game. This one might be a little bit easier. I don't know. Who was the Vikings starting running back that game? Looks like Jerry Rice in comparison to what we've had since.
Is it AP?
It is Adrian Peterson.
Adrian Peterson. What a legend.
I think that was either his second to last or his last year with the Vikings. His stat line for that game: 13 carries for 28 yards and 0 touchdowns.
Wow, that's bad.
We held Adrian Peterson in check, ladies and gentlemen. We had a run defense 12 years ago. Wowzer. All right, then. Bonus question. How many total punts were in the game? We had this one last week.
It's either a lot or it's not a lot. And I'm assuming it's a lot because it was a 23-7. So 9.
Oh, no. 16 punts in that game.
16?
For a total combined yardage of 750. 750 combined punt yards in that game. And then there's another little question, because why not? What was the combined record of the Giants and Vikings coming into that game?
It's week 7, yeah?
Yep.
Week 7, so they would have had 12 games between the two of them. Is it 12 games between the two of them? Yeah. Yeah, because they wouldn't have played each other before that. So 3 and 9.
Yeah, so yeah, if it was week 7, they would have had 12 games. So I don't, unless it was week 8, I don't know. I must have read it wrong. 2 and 11. The Vikings. Oh no, it was week 8. Yeah, the Vikings were 1 and 5, and the Giants were 1 and 6.
Brilliant.
Yeah, nothing's changed. There we
go. Just as Keith says, we had good coaching back then, and we're 1 and 6. Was it?
Yeah, although we were 2 and 6 after that game. There we go. Okay. Yeah, it was week 8 of 2013. Sorry, not week 7.
Okay.
So yeah, 2 and 11. There we go. Alrighty then. I'm taking this hat off because my head is absolutely roasting. There we go. Oh, let it breathe. Cool. All right. So that's the game. So, Craig, Tankathon update.
Yeah, it's getting towards that time yet again that we start looking at how the permutations work and how it's all going. So obviously,
do I need to do the Shane's Tankathon theme tune?
I don't know. We haven't had it this year, and it feels wrong not to have it straight from the source of the originator.
It does. I mean, I can do a remix if you want. Can try. There you go. That'll do.
It's not quite as good as Shane's boom boom, is it?
No, it's not. It's not. We need that shit back in our lives. Come on.
Is it Shane or is it Basil Brush?
Good question.
It's one for the older generation that are probably still watching.
Yeah. Tankathon.
So with 3 weeks left, the Giants can at best finish 5 and 12, which means that the highest pick that they can get is the number 10 pick. Obviously, the Giants still hold the number 1 pick at the moment due to strength of schedule, because we have had the weakest strength of schedule versus everybody else. Results this week will only see the Giants move between 1st overall and 6th overall, because that's the spread, but that means there are 6 teams within 1 win of each other, essentially. There are 2 teams on 2 and 12. One is the Raiders, who the Giants play next week. They're up against the playoff hunting Texans, so I would imagine that they will probably lose that one against the Texans. Though they do have Geno Smith back, so
Yeah.
The other is the Titans.
Good news for them.
Yeah. The other is the Titans, who take on the Gardner Minshew-led Kansas City Chiefs, because obviously Patrick Mahomes is out. Now, I think that's potentially a little bit of a banana peel for Kansas City. I do have the Chiefs winning that game in my predictions, but the Titans could do something there, and they haven't played bad. Like, offensively, they've put up points over the last few weeks, so there is no reason. Now, next up are a trio of teams who are on 3 and 11. You've got the Jets, who will be taking on the Saints, the Browns, who are taking on the Bills, and the Cardinals, who are taking on the Falcons. The Browns will probably struggle against the Bills, but then again, the Bills have laid eggs against lesser teams.
It's very up and down, haven't they?
Yeah, so there is, there's no reason that they couldn't, come off a win against New England that puts them back in the AFC title race, and then
drop another egg to Cleveland.
Yeah, drop an egg to Cleveland. But I think the Cardinals, Falcons, and the Jets Saints could go either way. I know the Saints are on a good run at the moment, but it's not been perfect, and the Falcons aren't amazing either. And the Cardinals, I know they've got Jacoby Brissett under center, but he has had good games this year as as much as he's had bad games. I know they haven't been great, but that could go either way. I think that there's still a lot of football to be played across 3 weeks. Like I said, we've got an ability to go from the 1st to the 6th, or 1st to the 10th, depending on how everything goes over the next sort of few weeks. So it's going to be one to keep an eye on, but it should really start seeing the pack separate a little bit over the next 2. Week 18 should be interesting to see whether we're still within a shout of that, because that Raiders game is going to be huge next week in the terms of draft position.
It's massive, absolutely massive. It's going to be an awful game, but it's going to be massive in terms of draft position.
If Ashton Genty's rush yards if his over-under is under 100 yards, you take the over every day of the week.
100%. 100%. I mean, it just gives me nightmares thinking about it. It's going to be one of them games where you watch from behind your sofa, or through your hands, or just you don't watch the game at all because it's going to be that bad. But we've got a pretty good chance in getting number 1 overall, I think. If we carry on the way we played the last couple of weeks, I think we've got a pretty good chance. There's, even obviously the teams at 4 and 10, you got the Saints, Commanders, and the Bengals as well, I think. And obviously Arizona as well, 3 and 11. I think it's all to play for. All it takes is one win. One win in these last 3 games for us, and that could really put a sort of spanner in the works for those that are on the tank train. Watching Mike Kappa's press conference earlier, you can kind of sense that they're putting every ounce of effort they've got into every game, and it's quite refreshing to watch that press conference actually and actually hear some detail from him, rather than we just need to look at the tape and we need to get better and that's on me and the usual sort of drivel that Dave's gave. It's actually quite nice to hear him talk about Jackson Dart's development and the offense, defense, and special teams as well. So if you haven't watched it, give it a watch. It's quite good. But yeah, it's all to play for over the next 3 weeks. At both ends of the scale, in obviously the playoff contention, I think there's only 2 teams confirmed, or 2 or 3 teams confirmed for the playoffs so far. And yeah, any one of those, I suppose 9 teams can realistically end up with a number 1 overall pick. So let's see. We'll give you a tankathon update next week after the Vikings game. So we'll see where we're at come next weekend before we play Las Vegas. All right. There was an interesting mock draft from PFF this week suggesting the Jets could draft up from number 5 overall to number 1. And in return, the Giants would get the number 5 pick, the Jets' second round pick, plus both their first and second rounders in 2027. Seems like a massive haul, if you ask me. PFF also released an article with the most picked player by each team in their mock draft simulator, and the Giants' most picked player is safety Caleb Downs out of Ohio State. Downs has recently won the Jim Thorpe Award for best defensive back in the nation, and is seen as one of the top picks in the draft. So, what do you make of that haul there, Craig? It's a lot. It's a hefty haul coming from the Jets there. And does Downs being the top pick show that the fans are still very concerned about that sort of safety spot going into the 2026 season?
Yeah, I'll address the haul first. I actually don't think it's that bad. I know a lot of fans have kind of looked at it and scoffed at it a little bit because they see, the Giants want the Jets 2 first rounders in 2026 because obviously they've got the first rounder from the Colts. They've also got I think 3 first rounders in 2027 because they've got the Colts and they've got the Cowboys, as well as obviously their own. So I think a lot of fans are just looking at those and assuming that we're just going to get all of those for the Jets to move up. And you've got to be realistic. And I actually think that this is not bad because one of the big issues with the Giants draft going into 2026 is going to be that they don't have that 3rd rounder, which obviously they gave up as part of the Jackson Dart trade. But if you then walk away with a first, another second, so you've got 2 seconds, and they're going to be 2 seconds pretty high up on that second day as well. Yeah. Giants would then potentially be picking twice within the top 10 picks on day 2, pretty much picking up those first round talent players that have fallen out of the first round due to positional picking. So I think that's big, but also you're then getting 2 first rounders in 2027 and 2 second rounders in 2027, which you don't have to use in 2027. You could use those in 2026 by using it as collateral to trade back into the first round if you wanted to, or you use them to draft up in 2027. Like does give you a lot of options there. So I don't mind the haul. I don't mind it at all. In the terms of Caleb Downs, I think Caleb Downs is one of those safeties from what I've seen of him that is potentially a game changer. And there are certain positions where you don't really hear top 10 buzz very often. And if you do, it's normally there's a reason behind it. And Caleb Downs has had top 10 buzz behind him. I do think people are right to be concerned about that safety spot. I think we addressed it earlier on this week when we were talking about the Holland free agency, and I rebuke the fact that some people don't think that Holland Holland pickup has been very good. I actually think he's had an okay season. It hasn't been great, but it's been better than a lot of people give him credit. But Nubin does concern me, and the problem is how much of it, with not knowing how much of it is scheme. And this is the difficult thing, actually, just to kind of maybe tangent this and move it onto a wider discussion. But if we're going to have a new head coach come in next year, which means we're definitely going to have a new DC come in and probably a new OC, because I can't imagine that Kafka's going to stick around. So it's going to be a big overhaul. When you're looking at talent, like the talent that we have on defense, and you think to yourself, okay, how are we going to look in 2026 and where do we have to improve? Who's to say that under a new defensive coordinator, players like Phillips and Nubin, Thibodeau, Flanagan, Fowles, Micah McFadden, Okereke, all players that people have kind of been a little on the fence with, or, that haven't maybe worked out in the way that we hoped they would this season. Who's to say that those players don't end up becoming really, really good players next year under a different scheme? And that's the danger, isn't it? You could write off Tyler Nubin completely without actually knowing how he's going to look in this new scheme. Now, we are going to keep him around for at least another year because of his rookie contract. So regardless of whether we do pick up Caleb Downs, there's that. But then you just create yourself headaches. It's going to be a very, very difficult thing for Joe Schoen or a new GM and a whole new coaching staff to try and pick the bones out of this sort of defense and offense and think to yourself, well, who is worth giving another shot? And if player X becomes available, is that too good to pass up?
It's a great point because, we could get a new defensive head coach in. A head coach could be a defensive-minded head coach, and he could want to run that defense like himself, or he could appoint a defensive coordinator as well. Or see, we could go for an offensive head coach, and he's going to appoint a new DC anyway. So either way, we're going to have a new defensive coordinator, or defensive coach in there, and it wouldn't surprise me if the defensive scheme is different. It is a lot different to what we've seen under Shane Bone in the last 2 seasons because it just hasn't worked. It hasn't played to the strengths of our defenders, and it just hasn't worked. It would make sense to see, like, okay, what have we got? Obviously, if we do get a new coach in, the likelihood is it's going to be not long after the end of the season, so they're going to be able to come in and sort of evaluate what players they've got, how it's going to work in the scheme, and then look to then go for into free agency and the draft, knowing what we need. Because the likes of Tyler Nubin, he might not fit the scheme we currently have at the moment, but he might fit into let's look at some of the list of head coaching sort of favorites as such. Chris Schuler, the DC at the LA Rams, is currently favorite to become the next Giants head coach. So he could come in and potentially look at Tyler Nubin and go, actually, you know what, he would fit really well into my scheme. I think, and just look to sort of coach him and develop him into that better player. But then they might think, actually, you know what, we need a different type of safety. That's when we look to free agency, draft, whatever. Jeff Hafley as well. I think he's DC at Seattle, I want to say.
Packers,
Packers, sorry, yeah. Again, the Packers defense. Look at the Packers defense this season. That Micah Parsons was crazy. They've obviously got McKinney, who we're very familiar with as well. So you would look for him to want to bring in a safety that's similar to McKinney. And what's to say Javon Holland isn't a similar safety to McKinney? So there's plenty of moves that could be made there. I think with Caleb Downs, I think if he's that right type of player and if he fits well into that new defensive scheme, then I could see us going for him in the first round for sure, even if we have that number 5 pick, because there are concerns about that position. Obviously, we've paid Holland a lot of money this year. We've obviously got Tyler Newman under contract for another year until his rookie deal runs out. So we've got options, but we could absolutely bring in the sort of the best safety in this draft, in Caleb Downs, and it wouldn't surprise me if we did have that number 5 overall pick.
So just before I get into the last pick, or the last point that I wanted to make, Aaron was in the comments earlier just saying, Darren Waller had 7 receptions last week to bring his season total to 20. With the Dolphins having 3 games left, he needs 10 receptions each week for the rest of the season to get our 7th rounder back. So
10 catch games, that's a lot.
It is, but they are moving forward with Quinn Ewers, aren't they? They've benched Tua for the remaining games. Yeah. Who is a quarterback's best friend? It's their tight end.
Just pump the ball towards Darren Waller, Quinn Ewers. Come on, do us a favour. Do us a favour. Come on.
Because that 7th rounder is going to make such a difference.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So the last point I wanted to make before we got onto predictions was something that I read earlier today, and it raised a few eyebrows. I don't agree with it in total, but I feel like it's a good discussion. So
Mhm.
when Joe Schoen delivered his bi-week press conference a couple of weeks ago, he said, this job is going to be an attractive job for many coaches. The calls we've got, and I think we're going to be able to fill the job. Now, obviously, we don't know if Joe Schoen is going to be here to be able to fill that job, or whether he's just doing the due diligence at the moment and will end up being replaced himself. But Bill Barnwell from ESPN, not so convinced that the Giants' job is as desirable as we think. In his latest article, he looked at potential vacancies that could be available this off season. He looked at 8 different teams, essentially, that he feels potentially could or will have a vacancy. Now, that could be teams like ourselves who are definitely going to end up having a new head coach. The Titans, obviously, they're definitely going to have a new head coach. He also looked at a few teams that potentially could get rid of their head coach, and then that's an available job, and which ones he believes could be potentially ones that would go either way. He has the Giants ranked 5th. Now, just to give the full list from number 1 to number 8, he has the Bengals at the top, who obviously still have Zach Taylor, the Cardinals, the Browns, the Titans, then the Giants, the Falcons, the Dolphins, and then the Raiders. Now, his reasoning was Dart's inability to avoid big hits, and whether Dart is actually that promising of a quarterback he might have seen without his running game. I wholeheartedly disagree with that, because of the fact that Jackson Dart has shown that he can be a good passer. Barnwell pointed to his quarterback rating on passing, true passing downs, or when he gets sacked, being a 49 point something. But a quarterback rating is the entire quarterback play, so it's a moot point. You can manipulate numbers to make them look how you want them to look, if you want to, if you try hard enough. So I'm not on board with that. I actually think that Jackson Dart is a much better passer than people are giving him credit for, and has been a victim of drops a lot of the time, as we saw last week with Darius Slayton. He did also say that Joe Schoen is an issue because of his mixed draft record and free agency, and letting Xavier McKinney and Julian Love walk, and all that stuff that we spoke about last week, and we've spoken about for the last few weeks when it comes to looking at Joe Schoen. So I can agree with that. I disagree with what he's saying about Dart and his abilities. Let's put it that way. And obviously, there's been loads of chatter this week about, the Giants should trade Dart and draft Mendoza. Colin Cowherd said it earlier today. I'm not on board. Yeah, I'm not on board with that.
Come on, man.
Yeah. Anyway, I understand the Bengals being number 1, because if the Bengals job becomes available, you are walking into somewhere that has Burrow potentially. Obviously, we don't know what's going on there. You've got Jamar Chase. You definitely need to fix that defense and that offensive line. But overall, you don't have a bad squad there. I totally get that the Bengals would be an attractive proposition. Are the Cardinals, the Browns, or the Titans a promising proposition? Are we really ranked below them? The Cardinals, who at the moment don't even know what they're doing with Kyler Murray. The Browns, who you would be walking into somewhere and your quarterback room, it consists of Dylan Gabriel or Shadur Sanders. Do you really want that? And the Titans, okay, I can give the Titans a slight pass, because I think Cam Ward is really starting to come into his own over the last few weeks and playing a lot better. And I do think that there's a little bit of intrigue there, but I don't think they have as good of a team as maybe we have. I wouldn't be able to tell you any of their wide receivers outside of Calvin Ridley, and I'm sorry, Calvin Ridley is not Malik Neighbors.
No.
So
Calvin Ridley is absolutely not Malik Neighbors.
So I mean, what do you think? Are they really more exciting than the Giants? They might have more cap space.
I mean, possibly, yeah, but Arizona, do me a favor. Come on. Arizona haven't been relevant since JJ Watt retired. And they've just sort of been on a downward trajectory since. Kyler Murray, I think, is pretty much done in this league. He doesn't seem to be able to do it on a week to week, season to season basis. He's always injured, perennially injured. The Cleveland Browns, do me a favour. The Cleveland Browns are a more exciting prospect than we are. I don't know what to say about that apart from it's the Cleveland Browns. Probably the most boring team you'll ever meet in your life. Also
the only thing with the Browns that you would want to do is to be able to say, "Oh, I coach Myles Garrett, a first ballot Hall of Famer."
Yeah, I mean that's if Myles Garrett is still there come next season.
That's true.
Who knows? I mean, he's probably the only exciting prospect about going into Cleveland right now. Realistically, one player out of 53 was not a lot to get excited about. And Tennessee, yeah, Cam Ward. But like you said, who can name any other player on their roster?
I mean, yeah, that's the problem, isn't it? It's like Jeffrey Simmons is a good player.
Yeah, it's just kind of like a bit of a mix of sort of not really household names, not really sort of great weapons. They're okay.
I think they do have a lot of cap space. I think
they do.
Next year they have. I think them, the Jets,
one of the most
and
cap space.
The Raiders. I think have they're some of the highest cap space.
But I mean, you look at what you could potentially walk into in New York, right? And obviously we're biased.
We're biased,
right? We're 100% we're biased. You've got Jackson Dart. You've got Malik Neighbors. You've got Cam Scatterby. You've got Abdul Carter. You've got Kayvon Thibodeau. You've got Dexter Lawrence. You've got Brian Burns. I mean, that's to get excited about. You got Andrew Thomas. You potentially got Jermaine Lumina on the other side. How is that not to be something to be excited about? In fact, we have the quarterback. We have our number one wide receiver. We have Cam Scatterby. We have Tyron Tracy as well. So we have two fantastic young running backs as well, who are both on rookie contracts. We have our quarterback who's on a rookie contract. We have a number one wide receiver who's on a rookie contract. We have one of the best pass rush, naturally gifted pass rushers in Abdul Carter on a rookie contract. What's not to be excited about coming into New York?
So looking at
it baffles me that at least Arizona and Cleveland are ahead of us in that race. Tennessee, obviously, like I say, cap space, and the fact they've got Cam Ward, who is sort of developing into a fairly good quarterback. He's sort of put that team on his back a little bit and sort of he's trying to sort of get them across the line. Cleveland and Arizona, no, do me a favor.
So those are the two I just want to focus on just very quickly. So when you look at effective cap space for next year, the Giants are looking at 26 million. They're in 18th at the moment. The number one ranked team is Tennessee, 116 million. The Raiders, 114. The Bengals, 109. So you're walking into someone with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and 109 million worth of cap space. Like, it makes perfect sense.
T. Higgins as well.
Yeah. There's a lot to like there. There is. Arizona, 47 million. Now we could make the difference of 21 million by just restructuring a couple of players. But the Browns, are you telling me that you want to go and work at the Browns, who have 6.9 million effective cap space? Yeah.
Not a chance. Not a chance. I'm sorry, but no. No. You've got to be a sadist to want to go into that role.
I mean, Keith makes a good point. Coming to New York means playing second fiddle to Mara and his family members, golfing buddies, amateur team in a professional league. But I think a lot of people do like the fact that the Giants are a family team and they have the prestigious name behind it. I know it's been tarnished over the last few years because of what's happened since the two Super Bowls, but I do still think that there's still an allure there that people don't expect.
Exactly. And let's not forget as well, like, we are 13 years removed from our last Super Bowl victory now. Out of that list, not a single one of them teams have a Super Bowl victory in the last 30 years, let alone in the last 15, apart from us.
Some of them probably haven't even won or been to a Super Bowl.
Cincinnati have never won it. Arizona have never won it. Cleveland have never won it. Tennessee have never won it. Atlanta have never won it. So, there's 4 teams there that have never won a Super Bowl. I think you're right in saying the Bengals are probably the most excited of those because of Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
Just because of he is an elite quarterback. It just the question is, can he stay healthy?
Right? Yeah, but their offensive line has been so poor for so long.
Yeah, exactly.
I know we're at 50 minutes, and we said earlier to ourselves that we didn't even know if we'd make an hour, but we've done quite well here. But I want to throw in a curveball for you. I saw somebody, and I've seen a few people say this. If we're doing rebuild next year, which we might be, but potentially, people are saying that because of his antics this year in the terms of his play and his attitude, that we should cash in on Dexter Lawrence. I'm torn because I can see the negatives and the positives behind this. The negatives are that he, on his day, if he is performing to his ability, he is one of one in this league right now, and was on Aaron Donald-esque disruption pace.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that there's a bigger disappointment on the Giants this year from a drop-off.
No, in terms of performance and the drop-off that he's had since last season. I mean, it helps that we've seen the Brian Burns that we all wanted to see. We've seen him this season, and Dex has been double and triple teamed a lot.
He does, yeah.
It's a really tough one. Are the Giants without Dexter Lawrence an infinitely weaker team?
Just like our run defense without him on the field. I mean,
yes, in certain circumstances, but in all honesty, how often have we mentioned his name this season?
Well, yeah, that is the point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not necessarily alarmingly. Maybe he's had a bit of that niggle with his elbow. Maybe he's not been fully fit.
And that's part of the problem of, and we're not the only team to do it. A lot of teams do it, not just in the NFL, in English football as well. There is a current thing where people just don't give injury updates. You don't really know what a player is going through in the terms of their body, because people are so loath to give anybody opposition-wise a weakness that they can try and exploit. So
exactly
that elbow could be completely screwed, and he has been wearing a brace on it, but I just don't know how much. I think the thing that's irked me with Dex this year has been his attitude when you've seen some of the
when he's talking to the media.
Yeah, but I think that's also partially bred from Dable.
Yeah, I agree. It'd be interesting to see what was offered, what was on the table for him. I think don't get me wrong. I'd be absolutely gutted if he did decide to go to another team. If he was traded to another team, but what would be on the table? Because at the end of the day, he's not getting any younger. He's had a poor season. By his own high standards. So his value probably has fallen a little bit this season. But it'd be interesting to see what offer is on the table for him. And if the offer's good enough, it's a case of, well, do you take it? Do you not? He's an aging veteran. I mean, I say aging, he's not exactly old, is he? But
no, but yeah, I know what you mean.
I mean, look at Leonard Williams when obviously we traded into Seattle, and look how well he's doing in Seattle. So maybe he needs a fresh start somewhere else to sort of reignite his career a little bit. Who knows? But it's a great question. It might even be one worth sort of tracking as we go into the off season, as we go sort of towards free agency as well. So yeah, it'd be interesting. All right, then, should we get some predictions in? Let's do it. So I fell 2 games behind Shane last week because I picked the Giants to win over Washington, whereas Shane picked Washington to beat the Giants. And that lead is now going to be insurmountable because Shane's not going to pick the Giants to win the rest of the season. And so essentially, Shane's going to be 15 of 17 for the season, isn't he? Let's face it. In all honesty, maybe 14 of 17 if we get the win against the Raiders next week. But Kevin, Aaron both tied on 5 in fourth. Craig sort of middle of the pack, 7 out of 14, not bad. And then comes myself on 10 and Shane, on 12.
Blinded by the rose tinted glasses.
Yeah, I just thought we'd do it last week against Washington, and then we go and put out that performance. There we go. So on to this week's predictions then. Just roll with the next 3, Craig.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously all the picks are sent through to myself, so Dan has no idea. So Kev is always the funny one to start with, isn't he? Because he is the one who is more optimistic than any of us, I think.
Oh, can I predict a prediction?
Probably not, because Kev has gone for a Vikings win, 31-28. So he does have it as a close game. In fact, I think he has it closer than any of us potentially.
59 points as well.
Yeah. So
wow, that's a big number.
So Aaron, who is also an optimist, has also gone for the Vikings in a 27-20 victory for the Vikings.
27-20, okay.
I can't see it being anything other. So I've gone slightly closer, 27-24. I think that there's a third, potentially a third touchdown in there. But still a Vikings win, still around that 27 mark.
Nice. It's me.
Yep.
And we don't win again this season. Vikings win 27-20.
And for the first time in Big Blue UK and Ireland history, I think that 3 people have predicted the exact same score, because Shane has also gone 27-20. So for clarity reasons, these are all sent to me separately. Nobody knows. The only person who knows other people's predictions are me, and I don't let that influence my pick, as you can see, because I've gone for something completely different. And
Jesus.
But the fact
who sent the prediction in first then?
I actually think it was Aaron who sent it in first. He sent it in pretty early to me. Shane sent me his at midday. Aaron sent me his at 9:32, and you sent me yours at 10:45.
Interesting. Wow, 27-20, 3 of us. Craig's 27-24, and Kev slightly higher at 31-28. So we're all on the Vikings bandwagon this week. I'm not really surprised by any of them, to be honest. The Vikings are currently 2.5-point favourites, considering they're on the road as well. Again, that does not surprise me.
Isn't it?
Yeah. The over-under is quite low, 43 points at the moment.
Yeah, I think
so we've all taken the over right there.
Yeah, I would imagine.
And obviously the Vikings are favoured on the money line as well, which again doesn't surprise me considering they have a 6-8 record and we're 2-12. So there we go.
A few predictions in the comments. H-Down's gone 24-17 to the Vikings. Keith has gone 30-21 to the Vikings, and Keith, as in Keith Burton, has gone 21-6 to the Vikings. We scored a single touchdown, but we've missed the extra point.
Oh yeah, Ben Souls, yeah.
I think Keith's got to that point in the season where he's playing carnage ball now.
Yeah. Keith, and we need to bring back the Giants bus at some point. Get them on the bus. So nobody is picking the Giants to win this weekend. So you know what's going to happen, don't you?
Yeah. So on that point, I actually almost did predict the Giants to win, because I'm pretty sure every time we've all gone against them this season, they've won. So I was Yeah.
We'll see come 9 o'clock ish on Sunday evening and get them all on the bus. All of them. What, including Jackson Dart and Neighbours and Scatterboo? Most of them, yeah. Most of them.
It would need to be a double-decker bus this season.
Yeah, it would be, absolutely. All right, unfortunately, that is all we have time for this evening. We'll be back on Tuesday evening at the usual time to review the game. So make sure you tune in then. It could be therapy session 13. Anything else to add before we go, Craig?
Yeah, it's actually Monday, I think, because of something that's come up. So it'll be Monday. And because it's Christmas week, it'll be preview and review in one episode. So it might be slightly longer than normal, and it will be a combined episode just because it's Christmas week, and we deserve a little bit of time off. Other than that, it's just a case of piling through these last few weeks and trying to look at the positives. The positive that came out of last week was that Abdul Carter sort of started to live up to his draft position and had that breakout game that we've all been hoping that he can have. If he can continue that this week, you take that as another positive. As long as the rookies are performing well, and some of the players that aren't on the bubble, then at least you can cling to something. It's not going to change anything massively, but you can start to look at maybe some positives going into next season.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it has been doom and gloom this year, as it has been the last few years. But obviously, there's some positive things to come. We've got new coaches going to be coming in, potentially new GM as well. So we have got things to look forward to, and we've got some exciting young players on this roster, like you said, like Abdul Carter, Cam Scatterboo, Jackson Dart, Malik Neighbours back from injury. So 2026, it could potentially be an exciting year for us. It might not necessarily be the most productive, winningest of years, but it could be an exciting year under a new head coach. I just hope to see that we are more competitive than we have been the last 3 years, put it that way. I won't be on Monday because I have prior arrangements. So I just wanted to take the time to wish all of our viewers and listeners a very Merry Christmas. Hopefully Santa brings you lots of Giants merch, and we can all look ahead to next year with that new GM, new head coach, new coordinators left, right and centre, and like I said, a bit of positivity and excitement moving forward into the new year. So very Merry Christmas to all the listeners and viewers. I hope you have a great one with your family, your friends and your loved ones. And thank you very much. Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas. Check out our socials for all the latest news. Follow the links in the description to find where we are. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell to be notified when we're going live. Give the episode a big thumbs up if you want Joe Schoen fired. Don't forget, a thumbs up if you want Joe Schoen fired. We all want Joe Schoen fired. Thanks to everyone for watching this evening and getting involved in the comments. As usual, we appreciate the love. And my thanks as ever goes to Craig for joining me. We're signing off. Until next time, Merry fucking Christmas. Let's go Giants.